We all want happy, healthy families, and that quest for good health begins at birth. Sadly, many of our nation's infants have a much more difficult journey reaching their first birthday than other infants. African American babies, for instance, are as much as 2.5 times less likely to reach their first birthday than Caucasian babies. This disturbing disparity has given rise to a national forum, a forum wherein healthcare professionals, birth workers, policymakers, and family planning experts share information and ideas to combat the scourge of Black infant mortality and maternal morbidity. Welcome to the GAP podcast series.
Well, we are back with another edition of the GAP podcast series, and we are in for a treat today. We're going to spend the entire hour with my friend Kiva Harper, who is a licensed clinical social worker in Arlington, Texas, and her specialty is in treating and in dealing with folks that have had trauma and traumatic grief. So, Kiva, welcome to the GAP podcast series. Girl, what is up? What is going on with you?
Thank you, Lindell. I'm so excited to be here.
Man, I am so glad that I cornered you and threatened you and got you on the show. So I'm really totally happy. And man, I'm excited. So from your experience, you have, like me, been Black for your entire life. I know I have. And
I have.
What is this reticence that somehow exists as a myth in the Black community that there's some weakness, some defective character attached to people that want to go get mental health issues, that you should just be able to just deal with that? What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I have so many. I think the other thing that we should talk about is not feeling understood when you go to seek help. You know, you don't often see people of color in the mental health field. I think we're seeing an increase in that, but usually that wasn't something that you saw. When you look at TV, you see people like, Bob Newhart, Frasier, those people. No one really that looks like us.
So are you saying perhaps that there could be implicit bias in the healthcare community? What? I'm shocked to hear that.
I bet you are. But it really is the truth. We know that. I actually saw, when I was preparing to meet with you, I actually saw an article that said, believe it or not, I was really surprised. I really want to find it. As I jotted a note down for myself, it said that doctors nationwide are about 72% white, and they often underestimate the pain level of minority patients. And that some of them, and this was just in 2016, it says half of the hundreds of white medical students surveyed in this study said that they believed this myth that the nerve endings of Black people were less sensitive than those of white people. And this was 4 years ago. That is just astounding to me, that the color of our skin means we don't feel pain the same that they do. And they really believe that. And we're talking highly educated medical students that are about to go be practicing in private practice and hospitals that we're likely to encounter. That's scary to me.
That is a stunning piece of data that, now, if you'd said to me, well, this was from some sort of a medical journal 75, 90 years ago, I would say, that pretty much sounds about right. Because, as you know, and I'm sure you know because of your, because of the depth of your studies, that particularly in the OBGYN world, as that medical discipline developed, in many cases, it developed on the basis of just trying things on slave women or trying things on colored
Mm-hmm.
women just to see, oh, well, we really don't know how much ether is required to anesthetize someone. So we're just going to practice on Negro women to get it right so that when we have a real patient, then we don't make some sort of a mistake of calculation. So we're just going to go ahead and perform this hysterectomy with no anesthesia just to see what happens. So because they, in air quotes, don't feel pain the same way that we feel pain. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And they're strong. That's the other thing, that strong Black woman, the responsibility, because I don't want to say the myth, because we are indeed strong as a people, but the responsibility of carrying that label of being strong means, or is misinterpreted to mean that we can't feel pain physically or emotionally. And I think that contributes to this issue and many, many others.
Yeah, that's part of the Big Mama paradigm. Well, you can just dump everything on Big Mama because she's strong and tough. And, she's going to be able to, pick cotton for 8 hours during the day and come home and, and nurse the baby and, cook a meal, for 10 people and get up and, and do it 6 days a week. I mean, because that's what Big Mama does. And Big Mama may have done that, but it probably shortened her life by 20 years. But those are certainly the kinds of images that we all need to confront. Yes, Big Mama may have done those things, but at what personal cost to her physiological and mental health did she do those things?
I think that she did. Endured domestic violence. Like you said, do all of the things that she's doing to hold the family together. That's the precedent that's set and is passed on from generation to generation to generation.
Because
and not continue and do things because that's the way we've always done it. You know what I mean? They challenge things a lot more, and they think for themselves a lot more. And so I think these, millennials and the generations after them, I think we're going to see a change, or at least I'm hopeful that we are. All of the things that we talked about, I think, sometimes we, men and women, both subscribe to that belief. Us as women may be even thinking, am I overreacting? Am I being dramatic about my pain? And then men, saying the same thing. Well, she's overreacting because that's what the doctors are saying, And so I think, for one, is we need to support each other. Men need to support women and believe them and advocate for them. I think about cases like Serena Williams when she had the trauma that she went through during childbirth, and the fact that her husband had to really, really advocate for her to get what she needed when she couldn't, when she was no longer able to, because she was really ill and they were not taking her seriously. And we know that Serena Williams has access to the absolute best medical care, and she has a white husband. She has all of these things going on that you wouldn't even think this would happen, and she was still victimized by this system. So you can only imagine, someone from the hood without access that's having to go, to the county hospital, what their experience may be like.
We're about to go to break. Listen to this very brief word from one of our sponsors and stay with us. We'll be back momentarily with the GAP podcast series. Welcome back. You're listening to the GAP podcast series. Now, as somebody who deals with grief, with traumatic grief, and with trauma, and with PTSD, what are the kind of tactics that you employ to safeguard your own mental health? What do you do?
That's a great question. One of my mentors always says to put your shield up. And so when I go into my office, well, these days it's virtual, but the days that I'm seeing clients, I'm mentally prepared for that because I don't know what's going to come at me, and I don't want to absorb that in. So I literally imagine this shield up. And so while this information is coming at me, it's not getting in me. And I am really careful about how many clients I see, and if I'm overloaded and my clients are all very acute, referring new clients to someone else, because that could be something that could just take me over. And I think the most important thing that I have to do is to really, really take care of myself in my own personal life, because as we know, life is going to happen. I'm certainly not immune to the problems that life brings. However, there's some things I do have control over. I try to reduce the amount of drama in my life. I try to surround myself with healthy people. I make sure that my relationships are healthy as much as they can be. I make sure that my relationships are reciprocal, because of what I do for a living. It's very easy for me to attract people who need a lot. And then I find myself giving so much but not getting much in return. And so I have to really, really balance that. And me as an introvert, I have to really take the time to recharge, because I can't do this if I don't recharge. So that's what I do to take care of myself. And sometimes it's more challenging than others. And I do not hesitate to go out and seek my own mental health treatment and seek counseling. I have a counselor that I've used for years, and I will absolutely call her and say, hey, I think I need a tune-up. We need to schedule about 4 or 5 sessions. I need to work through some stuff. And so I seek my own therapy as well.
Wow. Well, that's good to hear. That whole notion of recharging makes you better for, for the clients that you have. Well, we're getting to the tail end, or the denouement, as they say in the theater, of our conversation today. And the last thing I want to get to is just 2 more questions for you. Okay. I want to ask you, I want to give you the floor. And is there anything that you want to say that is maybe not related to any question that I've asked you, or anything that maybe you wanted to mention or go into in much deeper detail that you maybe just took a look at on a surface level? So I just want to give you the floor. I mean, what do you want to talk about?
I think that it's important that we really understand that there's this intersectionality. So there's race, there's gender, and then there's class. And so I think all of those things coupled together is what's causing the problem. So I think, there are studies that show that women already are not taken as seriously when they report pain than men are. And then you add to the fact that it's a Black woman, and then you add to the fact or add to that situation that she that her socioeconomic status is also low. And so all of those things together, I think, are what contribute to the problem. I'm looking for something else that I found. I found a study from the CDC that was a little concerning. It is. This was done in, I'm going to find the year in a minute. I'll find it in a second. But basically, it said the infant mortality rate for Black babies is twice that for white people. But this is not just about poverty. Babies born to well-educated, middle-class Black mothers are more likely to die before their first birthday than babies born to poor white mothers with less than a high school education. And this was in this was CDC, and it says 2007 through 2013. That's where this is the period of the study. And that's just amazing to me, because when you look at the intersection of all of those things, it looks like race is still the most prevalent thing, because you have, an educated Black woman who is doing exactly what we're told we're supposed to do, and it doesn't change anything. And so what's the difference between her and that white mom? Race. And so I think looking at all 3 of those things is going to be really important for us.
Okay. I would have to agree with you on that. I mean, the work that we have done on this journey to bring the gap to fruition that's certainly been a truism for us, is that, what you read, the report from the CDC, that's been borne out, and our research has been supported, just qualitatively and quantitatively by the, by the research and by the journey we've been on. Well, before I wrap up, tell me a couple of authors that have greatly influenced you, or tell me what you're currently reading that's not related to the to the world of what you do, your practice. What are you reading?
Actually, I'm hosting for my other job, hosting a book club, and we just finished reading Little Fires Everywhere. And I like to read mindless stuff, things that don't require me to think much. That's one of the ways that I recharge. And so another book that I was reading at the same time that I just finished last weekend is Terry McMillan's new book called It's Not All Downhill From Here. She doesn't write fast enough for me. We only get a book every 10 years or so. So I saw that she had a new book that came out this year. I like to read African American fiction.
Well, if that's the case, then you guys, your little book club friends, you guys need to read my novel as one of your selections for your book club. So we'll have to.
Oh, I would love to do that.
We'll have to talk about that offline. And man, I'd love. Okay. And and this could be one of those situations where you could actually have the author show up at book club. Oh my God! Yeah. The author can answer questions for you.
You owe me.
Yes, I do. You are exactly right about that, man. And I always pay up, man. Well, man, Kiva, thank you so much for spending the hour with me and with our listeners here on the Gap Podcast series. I mean, you've just been absolutely extraordinary, and I have loved this hour with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. You are listening to the Gap Podcast series.
Thank you for listening. The Gap Podcast series is produced by Limeville Entertainment in association with Sagase Media Group. Also, be sure to visit us online at 365plusone.org. That's 365+1.org.